Sarcasm war Metzia darf beis Amud Aleph, הרי לא עומדים לרפוס נורמן קרול לאבס תומו שמואל אברהם בן יהודיס יהודיס פסריף קפלין אחר בסגול ארוך לרובן יעקב בן גורדי אסתר גבר לבת סור חנה בת סימה תומר בס נובי באלז ישרו עם בר בס יואל צבי הרסל בן דניס שלום יסר בן ידי יעקב אפרים בן סור אלו נשמע סוב ומר מנחם בן עקיבא אלו נשמע סוב בשלום סוב בס מוישה ולאילו נשמע my Kita Dalad Rebbe, More Markowitz. He taught me that. Toshma. Let's restart again. Let's go back to line starts with the word Ayushi Miyash. It's not in Japanese, it's part of our Gemara. Yeah, the Bryce, it's not a Mishnah, it's a Bryce that says, how would it be possible if a person is Toirim, a person gives the Truma, from someone's the Truma Gdoilo that you give to the Kohen? How is it possible that you give it without the person's knowledge and it still works? Listen to how it works. The person went down to his friend's field. He took some of the produce, the grapes, the whatever, and he gave the truma to the Kohen without the permission of the balabais. So then, depends. If he's concerned that it's gezel, he thinks maybe real balabais would not be happy, and soon we'll see how he knows that. Then the truma is not truma. There's no consent. So balabais did not agree. Ve'im lav truma, but if not truma. If not, meaning if the balabais then is not gezel, it's not gezel, it's good, it's fine. The balabais would be happy. Then the truma is a good truma. Continues the Bryce, so how would you know? The balabais is not there. Maybe if you know him very well and you know what he would have said, maybe that works. That's a different question. But how do you know for sure? Let's say you don't know balabais. So how do you know? At the end of the story, everything will be clear. Let's say at some point after the person was Torem, he took the truma from the bunch of grapes. Then came the balabais umitzoy. He found him taking truma, finds him red-handed taking truma from the produce of the balabais. The omoloy balabais told the volunteer who made himself a volunteer without asking balabais. If he told him klach etzel yofos, go to the nicer ones. Why do you pick from those grapes? Go to the nicer grapes and take from them the truma. Give that to the Kohen. Then depends. Im nimtzo yofos mehen. If really there are nicer grapes, nicer than what was given by that unwanted shliach, if there are nicer ones, truma. If the balbai says, "Oh wow, give him nicer ones," why don't you give him nicer ones? If there are nicer ones, that shows the balabai's consent. Yeah, he's happy. Abayey, he wants him to give even nicer. Thank you so much for doing this for me, doing it on my behalf. Imlav and truma. However, what's imlav? If not, if there are no nicer ones, then he says, why don't you take the nicer ones? That is being sarcastic. He's basically saying, oh, didn't find nicer ones, like I want to throttle you, because why are you taking this? Then the truma is not truma, because there's no consent from the side of the balabais. However, lik to abaylim vosifu alein, if the balabais took some grapes and added to the existing pile of truma of the shliach, and he actually added from his own, then benkach ubenkach trumosoy truma. Then even if there aren't any nicer ones, then we don't interpret it as being sarcastic, and we say the truma is a good truma, and we assume balbais is very happy. Why? Because it's state in the Torah, action speaks louder than words. If he actually went to be a dime and helped him and schlepped more grapes to the truma, Avada is happy. All very nice. So basically, at the end of the day, he took truma 9 o'clock. The balbais came 10 o'clock. Whatever happens 10 o'clock shows me retroactively what the balbais really wanted right from the start. But that's not so good. Attacking Abayey. We're now again attacking Abayey. If you find nicer ones, why is that a truma? Why is that so? Amai, why? The Eden of the Torah, hello Avayoda. When the guy, meaning who's the guy, the shliach, the self-appointed shliach, made the truma, then he didn't know that, right? Oh, in other words, what's the question on Abayey? Listen to what's happening now. we're now moving and expanding the borders of the Machlokes Abayey and Rava, not only about Yush. Not about Yush only. This is not about Yush. It's not Yush Alomidas. What is it? It's basically a person's rotzoin, haskama, agreement, consent. Oh, which means if I would have to put here if I would have to draw, to make two groups over here, two lines, two groups, two categories, some transactions in halacha are active transactions, some of them are passive. It's very important you saw it according to Toysus, Ektois, and Esivas. When you do, let's say, a kinyan, you sell something until you don't really sell it, then what? It's not being sold, right? Selling, hefker, I hereby declare I am mafkir. Before hefker, nothing happened. Yush, on the other hand, is not that. What's yush? Yush is a feeling. On the contrary, I'm not happy that it's happening. Oh, say, this wallet of mine, chas v'shalom, I'm never going to see it again. Shucks. That's yush, which leads us to say the person is mevater, gives up and gives in. Say the chachamim, now you can take his stuff. You can take whatever he lost because it was yush, but it's not an active thing. It's a situation. It's a feeling. The same thing here with the consent. The Gemara is asking the following question. According to you, Abayey, all we need is not the balbais to appoint anybody. We just want his consent to be happy, not to disturb the shliach do his job, to actually sort of say, okay, I sort of I recede a kilo, I go back and I say, fine, so that is similar to yush. Yeah, it's a feeling of, okay, whatever happens is good with me. I'm not activating anything. If so, it's similar to yush. And as such, now it's difficult with Abayey, because we only know about his feelings of consent when at the end of the day, 10 o'clock. But when the shlich did it 9 o'clock, when he actually acted, then we didn't know it. So how do you know the balabais was happy? And even if he was, it was too late. He didn't show his consent, because you, Abayey, you say that also the yush group, right? Even if it's just more of a passive thing like yush, you, Abayey, still say whatever happens later does not reflect on the past, right? If I found the lost object and only then the person was meyash, we don't work retroactively. Here too, why does it work retroactively? You see that it's not good with Abayey. Answers the Gemara, and at that moment, the entire class was shocked. In Kita Dalid, we were 10 years old, and look to what we heard. Rava is now coming to the rescue of Abayey. Rava is now coming to answer Abayey's answer. He's coming to defend Abayey. Yeah, that was very shocking for us. Yeah. So Rava is coming to tell us what would Abayey say. The Shaviyeh Shliach. In other words, we're talking about a completely different case. According to Abayey, says Rava, we should say that 8:30 in the morning, he was Shaviyeh Shliach, meaning the Baal Habayis made him Shliach. And you may ask, so what's the whole business? So why do you have to do this whole guessing game about it? It was sarcastic, not sarcastic. But Lamaise, what we're saying now is that he made him a shliach. Before anything happened, he appointed him. The Balabais appointed the Toirim. Achinami mistabra. And you must say that anyways. Lefi both Abayey and Rava. Why? If you say, had you said that we don't have proper shlichus that was appointed from the Balabais to the person, which again is an active thing. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying here. It's not, the Gemara now is not saying that it's a passive thing of, I'm okay with it. No, you actually have to create an active shlichus. I'll give you an example. Yeah, let's say a person, yeah, I'll ask you a question. Let's say a person, okay, maybe it's a shal of zochin. Okay, let's say a person is Mekadesh a woman for you and you don't know about it. Yeah, it's Mekadesh a woman and Haret Mukudeshes Reuven. And Reuven didn't appoint him as a shliach. Is that good? Is she his wife? Why? But maybe Reuven is happy. He likes her, actually. They dated 2 years ago. She's nice. Oh, in other words, when you really want something to work properly, halachically, there has to be a pointing of shlichus. And by the way, shlichus appears in the entire Torah. The makor, the source for shlichus, is what? There are 3 sources for shlichus. From my vague memory, at the beginning of second parak of Kiddushin, excuse me. Right, that's the one we're going to see now. Get, shlich of get, v'shilach, get, kodshim, the koyanim are shlichim, and the one which Shlomo said now, that truma, yeah, it says the pasuk in truma that tells me that shlichus actually works. So it was kodshim, chulin, and truma, because otherwise we wouldn't even know that shlichus works, right? I don't care that Tim McKenzie is Maman Tom McKinley to be his bank account and shliach. It doesn't, halacha doesn't care about that. How do you know, like you were saying that, how do you know that real halachic ramifications happen because of shlichus? One of the sources is truma. Look at that. Had you thought that there was no proper active appointing of shlichus, it's not enough to be happy about it and smile broadly. You have to be an active meshaleach. If not, mihavi truma say truma. His truma would never be a truma. The halachic action would not take place because, as Shlomo just said, atem gam atem omer rachmano l'rabel shluchochem, which means as follows. It says in the Torah, ken tarimu gam atem. The parsha of truma, it says, so too you also take truma. What's gam atem? Who's gam? What's gam? What also? Who else is taking truma besides the Jewish nation? Who's gam? L'rabel shluchochem, to add shliach to the story and tell me ma atem ledaitchem av shluchochem ledaitchem. Oh, in other words, just like when you take truma, obviously you know what you're doing. You're a sane person, more or less, and you know that the shlichus, not shlichus, you take the truma yourself. So too, when you appoint a shliach, it has to be an active appointment of shlichus. With your active knowledge, you're pressing the button and not just passively be happy about it. Now, no, I mean it's answer and question together. So what are we talking about over here? Kigon de shavish shliach, right? He appointed him a shliach. I'm asking a question. So what's all business of you know what he feels, or you're sarcastic? He added, he appointed him. So why do you have to do all this guessing game? 8 o'clock, he appointed him, right? And he went to the kolel, the owner. 9 o'clock, the shliach did his shlichus. 10 o'clock, the owner comes back and does this and feels that. Now interpret everything. Why do you have to interpret? He already appointed him at 8 o'clock, so everything is good. Answers the Talmud, Omar lei zil troim. He told him, go take truma. He did not tell him, take truma from those, which means in the pile of grapes of Mr. Meshaleach, you know how many different grapes are there? There are, let's say, 3 types of quality of grapes, A, B, and C, right? He did not tell him what kind of grapes, which quality of grapes you want him to take it from. You get it? That was the question. He wants truma, but maybe that's not the kind of truma that the balabais wants. Now comes the shliach, not knowing what kind of, which level of grapes he should take the truma from. Stam the balabais, usually a regular balabais, the average balabais, kitorim, when he gives the truma, mibenunis utorum. Usually, what does he do? Usually, balabais will take from the average, from the benunis. What does that mean? Average, excuse the pun. In other words, if I'm the shliach and I'm like, oh my gosh, the shliach told me to take the truma, but I don't know which one. There's super fancy ones that go to the best of the restaurants, and there are the very garbagey ones or something in between. Oh, I assume what? That it should be the middle one. Uh-oh, this guy didn't do that. The Ozel Iu V'Torah Yofois, he did not do that. Our friend the shliach, he went and he took from the nicest ones. Frumi. He took from the nicest ones. Oh, that's already a question. So mitzad the minui, mitzad the shlichus, there was the appointing. The appointing was done. The nomination was done. He was mishaleachim, so the shlich is not working completely, in outer space, out of context. However, the type of truma may not be what the Baal Bais wants. And then, for that, all you need is consent. Get it? He may have given the wrong type of truma. We assume that the Baal Bais wants average. Mr. Shliach wants to be super machmir on the expense of someone else. And give what? And give the nicest ones. Then, I continue the Gemara of the story. Uba Baal Bais umetzori. Then Baal Bais came 10 o'clock and found him taking from the fancy shmensi. The Omerle klachetzel yofois, and he told him, go to the nicer ones. Inim to yofes men to mosa truma. Let's say there's even nicer than type A. There's A plus, A diamond, A 5 stars. If you saw him taking it from the first class and told him go for the Concord class with the best class, then about it's a good truma. Why? But that's not appointing the shlichus. The shlichus was done. The button was pressed that his maisa is my maisa, right? Elamai, I don't know if he's happy with this kind of truma. For that, all he needs is consent. And then enachinami, that works very well. And truma se truma, then the truma is a good truma because he obviously is happy with the nice truma. Bimlav ain't truma. However, if the Baal Abayis, if he said, why don't you take from the nicer ones, and there are no nicer ones, we interpret what he says as cynicism and sarcasm, and like, oh, why don't you take from even nicer? Like, you're being generous on my expense. Maybe he's not saying it outright, he's too European to do that. But Lamaisa, he's sort of like, hinting to that, and that's how we interpret it. And then the truma is not a good truma. Why isn't it a good truma? Because then we say that the original shlichus was not for that. It's true that I pressed the button. When I pressed the button, I meant the average ones, not the good ones. Yeah. But we're not interpreting what he meant originally, not like before. Originally, at 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a pointing of shlichus. That was done, of course. We just don't know exactly what he meant. 10 o'clock is just a gilui milsa, just a technical question, which I like to say, how do you interpret what he did 8 o'clock? But both Abayey and Rava, it's not like something started 10 o'clock. Let me crystallize it. In the story of the guy who lost his wallet, which is Abayey and Rava, yeah, nothing happened before 10 o'clock. He dropped his wallet 9 o'clock on the way to the shiur. He ran to the Amud Yomi shiur. 9 o'clock, he dropped his wallet. Somebody saw him. Then 10 o'clock, he realized it, right? But before that, nothing happened on the side of the loser, of the one who lost. Nothing at all. And then, right, Rava says, 10 o'clock, he lost hope. Lemafre, I work for Lemafre, says Rava, if that's what it means, yeah? Over here, that's not the story. Over here, it's a different story. Something big happened before the entire story. 8 o'clock in the morning, there was shlichus. There was a pointing of shlichus. We only have to interpret it one way or another later. But the actual shlichus did start prior to the Maisa, unlike Yush. And therefore, we completely disengage, and Rava helped his opponent, Abayey. And we learned the good midos of the Amoraim. Says the Heilige Gemara. Next case, story time. We're still in yesterday's Amud, by the way. Says the Babylonian Talmud, first Wadlan, a Meimar story. Now, the story is as follows. Before we go into the story, I'll start from the end. Did it ever happen to you that your friend works in a shop? You go to a shop and you see your friend from college or yeshiva, and he works in the store. And he says, hi, I didn't see you in a long time. And the guy who works there in the store is stacking up shelves. He has PhD, and that's why he's stacking up shelves or whatever. He's working as a cashier. And he tells you, you can take this and that for free. Are you allowed to take it for free? Not so simple. He's not the owner. If it's not the owner, who says he can give it to you for free? It's a question because maybe the boss did let him, you have to ask him. But of course, you can't just take it because the regular, the bottom of the barrel kind of guy, not as a person. I mean, the person is not the owner. He gave permission. That's not permission. That's a general rule. And with that, we're going to continue and connect it to Shalom Das. Yeah. It doesn't have to be grapes. It could also be figs. Yes, story time to do with what we just said and somehow to do with Yushal Midas. Maybe. Amema Umarzutra Ravashi. Amema, Umarzutra, and Ravashi, remember the names. Amema, Umarzutra, Ravashi, all were Amoraim in Babylonia at the end of the times of the Gemara. They are the 6th generation Amoraim. Amema, Umarzutra, and Ravashi. Iklu lebustana de Mari bar Isak. They suddenly came to the bustan, to the orchard, to the grove of a man called Mari bar Isak. There were 2 people in Babel called Mari bar Isak, and one of them was a rich man with lots of fruit, a lot of trees. They came to his field, they came to his orchard, and I see Arisei, came the Aris. The Aris, I know Aris is called in Yiddish a sharecropper. What's a sharecropper? It's basically a person who works in the field, and then he takes percentage. He takes percentage of the fruit. At the end of the year, the end of the month, the end of the season, the Aris takes 40%, the Balbais takes 60%, and everyone's happy. Now the Aris came. And what did the Aris do? He brought Tamri V'Rimoini. He came bringing with him dates and pomegranates for Rosh Hashanah. The Shada Kamayu, and he threw it in front of them. Threw it nicely. He served it to them. He served them the fruit. 3 big rabbis come to our orchard. Of course, the Oris, who mind you, is not the Baal Abayis. He brings them fruit and he puts it in front of them. Amema v'Ravashi achli. Amema and Ravashi, they made the beautiful braha and they ate. They're not concerned there is any question here of Gezela. They ate straight away from the fruit, and they have a good reason to. As we're going to see, Marzuta loy ochil. Marzuta did not eat. So now, an olis is opposed to our friend from the shop, and I'm jumping straight to the understanding of the Tosfos and the Ritva. An olis has shares in it, right? We don't yet know how they're going to split and who's going to get which fruit. As opposed to the friend of mine who is now stacking shelves in the supermarket and he's just a regular menial worker who gets his monthly salary, right? That's not the case over here. Why? Because this guy gets percentage. Let's say my friend tells me, I go to the shop and my friend says, Kiva, I'll come take 2 ice creams for your children. So I want to say, listen, before Rosh Hashanah, I don't want to steal because it's Rosh Hashanah, so I'm not stealing yet. And if so, are you allowed to? What do you mean I'm allowed to? I'm not a menial worker. I'm stacking up shelves, but I also get percentage. At the end of every month, the end of every year, I'm sort of like a smaller partner. So of course he can take. Now that's actually a question. No questions. I mean, you cannot ask questions till the end of the page. You may ask then, but the Gemara now asks the following question. I mean, now 2 of them Abayey did eat, right? And 1 of them did not eat. Now, what's the question? What's the question at hand? Okay, I'm not going to talk now about Yushalomidas, and soon you'll know why. The question is as follows. When eventually the Balabais will find out, I'm stopping the story in the middle on purpose. At this happy moment, the real Balabais, who's Mari Bar Isak, who's the real owner, not the sharecropper, he doesn't know that his generous sharecropper, the Oris gave them the fruit, right? Eventually, at the end of the month, the end of the year, the end of the season, they're going to split the fruit, right? You take 40%, that is 60%. The question is, will he deduct it from his part? Get it? Will the Oris remember to tell Balabais, the sitting there with the computer and the calculator and the papers and maybe even the lawyer, and what? And they say, I take this, I take that. Now, is the Oris giving me those beautiful rimonim and te'anim and things from the Oris's part? And he will remember to actually what? To actually deduct it and not steal from Balabais. Or maybe he'll forget or conveniently forget to remember that this should be deducted from his percentage. That's a question. So Abayey trusted that it all will be well. Yes, he will deduct it. We assume so. The Oris looked like a nice, frum guy. And Marzutra was more concerned. And he said, no, I'm not eating. Maybe at the end of the day, the calculation against the Balabais, he will not be mentioned. By the way, everything I'm saying now is on behalf of the Ritva. Adehochi, meanwhile, look what happened. The next scene. Also, Mari Bar Isak Ashkechinu. Mari Bar Isak came and found them eating. And he told the Oris the beautiful sentence. Why didn't you give those rabbis from the even nicer ones? Rings a bell from before. Look, why didn't you give them from the even nicer ones? The Marzutra, Ravashi that ate all along, told Marzutra, Ashta, well now, up until now, you're more machmir than us, because you didn't know, maybe Balabais will not know, maybe it'll be cheating. Now he's showing his consent. Now all is good. Ashta ma'ilo ochil. No, now you can eat, right? Ever been with your friend to a restaurant or to a chasana and he doesn't eat because maybe it's not badatz? Comes the mashgiach, tells you badatz. Now I can start talking in. So this is not badatz. Now what? Now the balabais came with big smile on his face, told the Oris, no, why did you give them from the nicer ones? They're very good. So now you can eat. Now there's mefurish haskama. Tanya, excuse me. And they're continuing to bring a proof to the question. Tanya, we saw in the previous brayso, we saw that when it comes to what? To truma, when it comes to that dubious, questionable truma, if the balbais comes afterwards at 10 o'clock and he says, why did you take from the nicer ones? And there are nicer ones, then he's not being sarcastic. Then we say he really means give him the best. So here too, no, so eat already. Omar lehu, so he says, no, says Marzutra to them, Achi Omar Rove. Rove himself, who's by the way the author of the previous idea, Rove himself says, when it comes to Truma, which is a mitzvah, then we say, if the Balbai says, give him from the nicer one, who's him? The Kohen. Mitzvah, Truma, it's a very, very choshva thing. The mitzvah hu benichale. We always assume people don't do mitzvahs bigger and better and the best mitzvah because it's a mitzvah, right? You can take your friend's siddur, let's say, borrow your friend's siddur for a few minutes or so. You assume you want to do mitzvah with it. It's not exactly the same idea, but similar. Aval hocha over here, mishum ksifusa u'da'amar hachi. That's a different story. You know why he's saying this in front of the rabbis? You know why he says that he agrees? Because he's ashamed. Could be that in his heart, Mari Bar Isaac is cooking and steaming and boiling and feels like choking that oris. But he's not going to do it in front of the rabbis. He's very lo na'im. Yeah, he doesn't, these are important guests. So, of course, he feels forced to say, why don't you give him from the nicer ones? And Mimela here does not really show his consent. You may ask me, maybe later in the office is going to scream at him and really divide it with and deducting it from the salary from percentages of the oris. I'll give you my answer. It's my own idea. Maybe right, maybe I'm wrong. He'll still feel ashamed. Feel ashamed. Because if he's going to take off what the guy gave the Rabbanim, it makes him look very miserly and reflect very bad on him. Yeah. Let's say we are partners and we're 50-50, and you gave from our part, you gave some Rabbanim a gift, and then I'll sit with you with a calculator and the paper. That 20 shekels matana you gave the Choshev Rav, I deducted. It's not nice. It's like Suda Shen Mespekes LaBaalea. Yeah, you give food to someone without really wanting, the person who takes it is a big aver on his side. Yeah, get what I'm saying? So Lamaise, it doesn't really show real consent according to Bar Zutra. And therefore, retroactively, nothing was shown retroactively. But She'en can say, Amema and Rabash, we're not concerned about that. Now, the question is, does that have to do with Shalom Midas or not? Seder Rishonim, no. Toises and Ritva and others say no. You know why not? Let's say that we're talking here about the Oris taking from the part of Balabais, not from his own part, yeah? And maybe the question is, will Balabais agree to the gift, won't agree to the gift? That would be a question via Shalom Midas. I don't know if you noticed, up until now I said that the Oris is taking it from his part, right? And he will hopefully remember to tell the Balabais to deduct it from his part, right? And then Marzuta was so machmir and said, even if he told him, the consent is not real consent, Mikol Halev. Now, we could have learned the sugya differently. We could have learned the sugya as what? As saying that really maybe the Oris is Mamash Shatif. Maybe the Oris is taking from Balabais himself, from the 60% belonging to Balabais. And then the question is, Yushalom Edas, yes or no? Once the Balabais will agree, right, which he did at the end, effectively we say it was always good. And how do you say? End well, all's well. Yeah. And all well when end is well. Stuff tov, akol tov. Yeah. The kids are very nice. Yeah. Say the Rishon, we can't say that. Why can't you say that? Because then it comes out the two people here hold lakrava. Two people ate the fruit, relying on the fact that for sure he would not mind that a big rabbi, that the Rabbanim came and ate from his table. So in other words, you have two Amoraim here who pass in lakrava. They say, yeah, eat now, because I know that later he'll be miyash, he'll be giving up. Yeah, he'll be okay with it. You can't have two Amoraim pass in lakrava. You know why? Because we soon are going to see that halacha is not lakrava like Abayey. These are Amoraim from the last generation of the Psak halacha. They surely can't say lakrava. That's why we have to explain the way we explain. It's not a shalom Yishalom Midas from taking from the Balabais. It's taking from the Aris. It's not a question of Yishalom Midas. It's a question, will he remember to tell him that was taken or not? A technical question. Toshma, next case. Now we are extending and expanding even more about the halacha of hechsher. Which hechsher, Badatz or Rav Landau or Rabbanut? The hechsher we talk about is hechsher of liquids. Ever heard of that? Yes, you did. Toshma. Odeu hatal alein. Yeah, there are 7 liquids the Torah indirectly mentions, in Parshas Shmini at the end. And over there it says that if the mashke touches food, right, then that food, once touched by mashke, even if the mashke later was, mashke doesn't mean whiskey, mashke means 7 types of liquid that are halachically recognized as liquids. If they touched a piece of food, let's say fruit, vegetable, after it was already off the ground, disconnected, then they're susceptible to receive tuma. Yeah, if sheretz touched it or mace or something, they receive tuma. The hechsher means preparation. They're prepared to receive tuma. If the mashke did not touch them, then no. Now you have to know another thing. What do you mean the mashke touched it? I'm still in introduction. Either I took a hose, I took a hose and I spritzed it and I splashed and I squirted and watered my disconnected grapes, tomatoes, whatever you want, yeah? Even if it's later dry, but I did the action of wetting it, that means I'm using it. It's for human consumption. It's already a real thing. Now, if tuma touches it, it becomes tome. If it's now touched by a dead rat, let's say, it becomes dead mouse, it becomes tome. Now, let's say the rain fell, rain came, it was on my roof, and they were dusty and a bit fichi, those apples. The rain came and washed it. You know, I like the winter for one reason. I don't need a car wash. Yeah, because Baruch Hu does the job, washes the car. So here too, the fruit are washed by the rain. If the person is happy about it, Baruch Hashem, the rain came, even though he did not do the action, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did the action, but the person is happy, has his consent, and he's so happy that it happened, then too, the fruit are considered a muchshar, prepared to receive the tumah. That's really the entire Maseches Machshirin on one foot. Toshma, come and listen. Odewa tal alehen. Let's say the tal. Tal is one of the 7 liquids. What are the 7 liquids? Remind me. Yain, Bash, Shemen, Olav, Tal, Dam, and Mayim. Very nice. Yeah, 7 drinks. Why is Dam called a drink? Because the Torah says Dam chaloli mishtek zerasakosu. Because sometimes people feed their animals blood. And therefore, Dam chaloli mishtek, so blood is also considered a drink, but don't try it at home. It's chorus. Yeah. Anyway, Odeo tal alein. The dew is still on top of the fruit. The samach, and he's happy at the very same moment where the tal is there, and the person says, "Yay! My anovim, my tepuchim are now clean." Raise the bechiyutan. That the halacha of kiyutan applies. What's kiyutan? It's called muchshar. It's muchshar l'kabel tuma. Nogvu. Let's say they already naturally were dried. Let's say 10 o'clock in the morning, you don't see any remnant of dew. Why? Because it went by, it evaporated already. Even though now he's happy, einan bechi yutan. Oh, so what do you see? Too late. If at 10 o'clock in the morning he's happy that 6 o'clock in the morning, 4 hours ago, there was dew, then he's not happy. So that's not good with who? With Rava. You shalomidas is like consent shalomidas. Here too, the hechsher doesn't have to be I'm activating like shlichus or like kinyan. I'm happy. I'm consent. It's a feeling like yush, giving up, giving in, being happy, being sad. Feelings, says Rava, start from lemafreya, from retractively. And therefore, the problem is what? According to Rava, this Mishnah doesn't work, right? As the Gemara elaborates on that. Time am I? Why is that? Lav mishum de lo yamrinan isn't because we don't say Kevin digloy milsa dehashta nichale mi kore nami nichale question mark. Isn't it Rava? We're attacking Rava now. Isn't it because we do not say that because now he's happy, then retroactively he was already happy? We don't say that, right? So you see that things don't work backwards. And says the Gemara, shiny hotzom. Over there it's different. Ichtiv ki yiten ad sheyiten, which means yiten means the person actually has to give. The person has to actually water it with his own bare hands. Since at 10 o'clock in the morning he doesn't do anything, it's already dried. He came too late and he's not acting at all, not doing anything active. He's not placing the water on it. Therefore, it's not called huchshar. Says the Gemara, what? So the Reisha also. What did he say in the Reisha? In the Reisha was said, if he woke up 6 o'clock in the morning for slichas, and what happened? He sees the dew on the apples while it's still in action, it's still wet, and then he's grinning happily and dancing around, thanking Hashem. Then we said, Izu hechsher. So all of a sudden you're telling me that he has to do something active? That's not true. We say that as long as the dew is there, as long as the liquids are there and he's happy, it is good. Although all he's doing just, sitting there cross-legged and cross-armed. And says the Gemara, no. Hosam kedav papa. Over there, that Reisha, that can be explained according to Rav Papa. The Rav Papa Rami, because Rav Papa asked the stira, he pointed a contradiction. Siv ki yiten, v'kinan ki yutan. If you look in the Torah, the letters of the word yiten, yud taf nun. However, the way you pronounce it is ki yutan, passive versus active. Yiten sounds he will give. He will water. Yutan, it shall be given, shall be placed. Passive voice. What does that mean? Why is the Torah, leaving us in that limbo between passive and active? HaKetzad, how is that? Inan kiyutan dumya de kiyiten, which means even if it's passive and the water is yutan, the water was placed there by itself, by Kadosh Baruch Hu, by the dew, by the water, by the rain, and it was yutan, it has to be like, similar to kiyiten. It has to be as similar as possible to you watering with a hose. What does that mean? Ma'iten ledas, af kiyutan nami ledas. Very good. Just like when you act with a hose, you're watering it, you're spritzing with all your might, and you do it with your right mind, you know what you're doing. So too, when you see the rain falling or the dew coming or the honey falling from somewhere, whatever that is, that case also you have to be actively happy at the same time. Oh, again, it's not a passive feeling. It has to be mamish at the very moment of the dew still being there. Is instead of me taking the hose, my simcha, my feeling as it's happening, as it's raining, as the dew is still wetting it, then my simcha connects with the passive situation. It's as if I did it. But if the dew was there 6 o'clock and then evaporated nice and slow, and now it's dry, 10 o'clock, the sun is shining, and I come and I'm happy, you can't connect it anymore. And it has nothing to do with me, says Rava. Don't attack me. It's nothing to do with feelings and schmeelings and news. No, it's to do with the fact that it's Xeris HaKosuv. The Torah says you have to have a direct connection between your mind and the existing situation of the fruit being wet, either with a nice hose, the nice green hose that you mashke, or it came from Shamayim and you connect it through Wi-Fi with your machshava. You connect it with your simcha, but it has to be right away. It has to be an active kind of feeling at the moment, as opposed to yush, which has nothing to do with that. Yush is a matter of the guy not interested in owning his, or don't think he'll ever own his wallet again. Rava says that's good enough, even attractively. Toshma. Come in here and soon it will be all over. Bam, 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 bam. Toshma, yeah, the results will be advertised very soon. Toshma. Minayin le'aveda sheshot fano. Again, for the third time at least. How do you know that an aveda that was washed away by the river, she muteres? How do you know that an aveda that was washed away by gushing river? Now, we're not talking about the river we spoke about yesterday. You may be able to run after it and save it because it meanders. No, we're talking about a strong river. This is, I don't know, this is the Amazonas, yeah? She muteres. That aveda, let's say I'm on the other side of the Amazonas, one of the longest rivers in the world. And I am now on the other side of the Amazonas. Maybe I have to do a Shavas Aveda to the guy at the beginning of the river. I don't have to do a Shavas Aveda. How do you know? It says, it says in the Torah when it talks about a Shavas Aveda, you do that. What's that? You give back the guys, the losers, chamor. You do that to his dress, to his garments. You do that to any lost item of your friend. Any lost item that he lost. Nice, no? Any redundant words here? You do it to the lost object that he lost. Well, if you lost it, then it's lost, yeah? And you find it. What does it mean? Why are those extra words here? To teach me the following, which I already told you yesterday. Misha avuda himenu umetsuya tzel kol odom. Toivad mimenu also means it's an object that Mr. Reuven lost, but everybody else can find Reuven. How many people in Merkaz Mischari on Friday? Many. I'm bad with numbers. You can assess, yeah? Ich weiß whatever, 300 people simultaneously in Merkaz Mischari. Reuven lost his wallet, but 299 people may find it, right? He lost it and quickly ran to the bus going up to the left. Everybody else can find it. It's he lost. That's what the Torah says. No, he lost it, but everybody else can find it. As opposed to what? Yetzosazu, as opposed to shavuda mimenu ve'einu metzia etzel kol adam. Let's say you had a big city by the river, and there was a landslide, and there was a flood, and a lot of things were washed quickly by the river. Everybody lost it, or even if not everybody lost it, but it's a type of loss that nobody around can find. You get what I'm saying? Even if he's the only one that his wallet was washed down the river, lemaisa, he's the only one. He's the only one, but he's not. In other words, that kind of loss is the general loss of a black hole. It's a loss of no return. It's not revocable, right? It's very, very unlikely that somebody at the other side of the Amazonas, which is very, very far away, will give it back to the guy at the top of the river. It's extremely unlikely. And it's called a total, nothing to do with car accidents or insurances. It's a total loss. I'll give you another example. Chas v'sholom, the guy is faced by yesterday's guy, the big mafioso. Luciano came to his door and took money. That's it. Nobody's going to see it again. The police is scared to start with Luciano. So happens to be, you lost it. But that kind of loss, once it's in Luciano's hands, nobody would ever get it. Yeah, that's it. It's a complete loss. Such a loss, you don't have to return at all. Yeah, even if you get it from Luciano, let's say that you know who the guy is, that's it. Once it's sucked into the black hole of the river, the thief, then no mitzvah to return. Again, it's Mishur Sadin, maybe yes, but not Nikar Adin. What does it have to do with Rova? Why is that going to be a knockout now? This is a knockout, guys. The end of the game. Frag the Gemara, we assume, says the Gemara, Bisura Dumya Deitera. The prohibited objects are like the permitted ones. What? Explains the Gemara. Ma hetera. What's hetera? Hetera means, what is the item? What kind? Let's get a question. Oh, now I'm asking questions. When we spoke about, let's say you are by the beach in Brighton and Bournemouth, that's in southern England, right? Okay. What? No. Shira. Brighton and Bournemouth are in the southern shore of near. And then you're playing with a rubber ducky. You're 60 years old and you have your very favorite rubber ducky. And now the rubber ducky, it fell into the ocean. And now it's swimming nice and slow into the shores of Brooklyn. The Brooklyn is not Manhattan, I mean, sorry. Excuse me. To Manhattan, okay? No, far away, even further. Yeah, to Miami Beach. Okay, good, better. So then I'm a frumid and I'm go to Miami Beach, maybe there's a separate hour, I don't know. And now I found the rubber ducky, and it says the phone number of England. No, so maybe now I do have to return it. And it says 04, yeah, the 218, and then and I'm a frum Jew, and that sounds like a gold is green kind of number. Shall I call the number and say, I found your rubber ducky. Oh, it's so nice of you. Yeah, would the conversation take place? Yes or no? You don't have to return it. Beautiful. You guys are all Talmidei Chachamim. Why? Because otherwise it's not a chiddush. If there's no simon and this rubber ducky is very standard, then anyhow don't have to return it. Not even a Merkaz Mischari. If the Torah had to tell me that once it's lost from the entire UK, like the Queen, the whole thing is lost completely, then the whole chiddush is even if there's a simon. Even if there's a simon. Why? Because that's what the Torah said. Maybe because it's Yush Gom or whatever, but that's Pshad. Now you'll understand the Gemara. Ma hetera, just like the mutter object, meaning what? The one that was washed away from London to Florida, bein the is besiman ubein the leis besiman shara. Whether there is a siman or there is no siman, it's allowed, even if there is a siman and there's the phone number 04218. Afisura, so to the prohibited one, meaning if I found a rubber ducky in Merkaz Mischari and I'm not allowed to take it, but let's say it's also because why? Afisura, ben the is besiman and ben the leis besiman asura. Wow. Whether there is a siman or where there is no siman, I'm not allowed to take it. What? Did you hear what we just said? We just said something absurd. We said, I'm repeating. So too, let's say I find a Merkaz Mischari rubber ducky. Let's say they're very much in fashion. It's a fad, and a lot of them are around. And I find it in the Merkaz Mischari, just like the river washed, everything is allowed. So to Merkaz Mischari, everything is not allowed. Even if there's no semen, I cannot take it. What? If there's no semen, I cannot take it. Who believes in that? Rav or Abayey? Abayey. Beautiful. Because Abayey would say yes. If the rubber ducky was found a minute ago, it was lost a minute ago, it's not money, it's not heavy, it's not food. It will take him, 5 hours until he realizes he lost it. Says Abayey, hands off, mister. right? You may not have to return it because there's no simon, but you're not allowed to take it. Unless you really know, you have to stand there for a long time until the amount of time passes. But according to your Rava, that's absolutely not true. Frag the Gemara, tiyufta da'ovet, tiyufta. That's a big question on Rava. Because according to your Rava, such a case could never happen. Because according to your Rava, something that has no simon automatically is mutter after half a millisecond, according to your Rava. So that brisa with its equation just ain't working with you, says the Gemara to Rava, and therefore, the Hilchasa, what's halacha? Kavasa da Abayey beya'al kagam. There are 6 cases in the entire Talmud. Really, there are more, by the way. That's a question. There are 6 cases in which Abayey argues with Rava, and Abayey came out to be halacha, and one of them is Yu Shalomi Das. Shall I tell you al kagam? The other 5 are other cases. Yu Shalomi Das is our friend. Eid Zomem, Lemachra Nifsal, Lemachra. We're very quick, have to do that because we don't have time. Ein is Ed Zomem. There's a question when the Ed Zomem, you know, it's an Ed Zomem, you know, he was in Haifa, really, while he lied that he saw the murder in Bet Shemesh, right? So now, Ed Zomem, once we found out that he's a Zomem, do we say all his adios from now on are apostle, or do we say all his adios retroactively from the time of the edus? Yeah, between the time he gave the edus and the time that he found to be a liar, a month passed. All the adios he gave in this month, Kiddushin, Gittin, money, are they apostle or kosher? Says Rav kosher, says the apostle, Halacha like Abayey. Lech Yomed Me'elav, Lamed, that's in Eruvin Tesvav Amud Aleph, in the top, I think. Yeah, or maybe Amud Beis, it's in Tesvav. In any event, it says what over there? Lech Yomed Me'elav is, you have a Movui, you have an Eruv at the beginning of the street with a side post. You have to have a side post, right, to create like that kind of door frame. Yeah, Lechi, Lech with Korah, without Korah. That Lechi, which is a side post, wasn't placed there for halachic reasons by the Rabbanut, by the rabbi. The government put it there, stamped to be a lamp post or to be a post, what do you call it, like a mailbox, yeah? It happens to be convenient. Do we say that the lecha that's automatically there is good or not good? Says Rabbi, no good. Says Abayey is good. Halacha like Abayey. Mem, Lamed, we said Lamed. Kuf, Kiddushin Shaloni Misur Labia. That's in Kiddushin, where is it Kiddushin? Nun Beis, I think. In Kiddushin, it says what? Let's say you married one of 2 sisters, you don't know which one. So now you cannot touch your wife. One of them is your wife. There was Kiddushin, but you don't know whether she is, yeah? You can never touch her because she may be your wife, Mazel Tov, or maybe she's your wife's sister. You're not allowed to touch her, yeah? Mimela, is it Kiddushin or not Kiddushin? Says Abayey, yes Kiddushin. Says Rabbi, no Kiddushin. Abayey, yes Kiddushin. Gimel, Giludas Beget. Let's say that's in Gittin Mem Bov or something, or whatever. Yeah, it says Lamedalit. Sorry, Lamedalit. Yeah, in Gittin. Let's say the person told somebody, that's it, I've had enough. Yeah, no blinches for 2 weeks. That's a man cannot take that kind of abuse. No blinches for 2 weeks. And therefore, what? Write a get. I write a get. Mishaleach the get with a shliach. Yeah. Then the shliach comes and tells him, you know, your wife. I saw your wife sewing or something. Your wife didn't accept the get. Your wife did not accept the get. So the guy, the husband, who's so upset with his wife, says, she didn't accept the get. Great. He didn't say, I'm canceling the shlichus. It's Gilu das. It shows as if he loves her again. She WhatsApped him a nice blinches, you know, so he likes her again. Does that annul the shlichus or just talking and feeling? Says Abayey, it does not annul the shlichus. You have to really annul the shlichus to annul it. And Rabbi says it's annulled. Halacha is like Abayey, usually l'chumra, that it's not a get. Mem is mumar oichel nevelis lehachis. A person is very honest with his money, or so we assume as a regular guy when it comes to money. When it comes to kosher, he does not keep kosher deliberately. He doesn't keep kosher because he doesn't believe in it, because he thinks that ham is very tasty. And therefore, the question is this guy believed in Beis Din in matters of money? Can he stand in Beis Din and testify? So you're right, Halacha is like Abayey cannot testify. Rabbi says he's believed because with money, he's yasher. With money, he's an honest guy. He doesn't keep certain ben adam l'makom. So Rabbi says he's a kosher ed for money at least, and Abayey says no. Abayey says if you're possible to this, it's possible to that, and I've been spending way too much time. Anyway, this was Ya'al Kagam in 2 minutes. These are the 6 cases in which Abayey halacha is like him, and that's one of them. Mumar ho'echel nevelis lehachis. He's a mumar to eat nevelas, not because of money reasons. If the reason is, like many people I know in England, they told me, a guy told me, like, he would eat kosher, but he doesn't eat kosher, it's expensive, right? Some people, not us, Baruch Hashem, I'm saying, it's expensive, right? Dacia, London Maze are more expensive than Safeway. I mean, scan. So, but because of money, he sounds like a nicer guy, but he's really, he doesn't care about spending money for Kodesh Baruch Hu. So maybe he'll also be lying about money in other areas. But we're not going now to the Sugya. That's in Eruv Sanhedrin Chavzain Aleph. Two of these are in Sanhedrin Chavzain. Now comes the question, the aftermath. Now the Trova was what was questioned on, was rejected. His opinion was rejected, and we follow Abayey. If so, Hanitamri Dezika, those tomorrow, those dates of the wind. What do you mean dates of the wind? That means what? Gone with the wind. Yeah, the date's gone with the wind, which means, let's say you have a palm tree, okay? Some of the dates fall straight on the ground, but some of them, when it's windy, they fall far away. Okay, just remember that fact for now. Question is, how can we eat them? I know the common practice by all Jews in Bavel, if you see a date that fell far away, sometimes the apple falls far away from the tree. The dates fell far away from the tree, and we eat them, we pick them up and eat them. How can we do that? Why is that a problem with Abayey? We paskin like Abayey, that's not right, because you have to wait. How do you know that the guy knows that those dates fell far away, right? You have to wait the sufficient amount of time, and you eat them right away. I'm going to explain to you now. The Gemara is going to answer, and then I'll tell you Tosfos. Omerle, he told him, came in the ikashkotzim romosim de kaachli lehu. Because on the ground, usually, because the dates are very sweet, the Rishonim say, there are all kinds of bugs and insects that eat the dates right away. Ever put a sweet on the floor? What happens to the ants? Zoom, like ants to a sweet, yeah? And what? They make a beeline, excuse the pun, yeah? And what? And then, because he knows it will be eaten right away, before they even fall, he knows he will never get it back. Before they even fall, it's not Yushalo Midas, it's pre-Yush, yes Midas. Even before the dates fell, he knows that they will fall, because dates do fall periodically. And he also knows he has no chance of retrieving it, because the second they fall on the floor, they're so sweet and nice, I guess nicer than today's dates, and it's all agricultural area, and there's no pesticides. So what do? The right away, they come to finish it, is meyash to begin with. There's a very, very nice Tosfos here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tosfos, but I want to get to the two dots. You see, sometimes I stop myself from talking too. I'm doing North Korea on myself now. Mamish North Korea to Akiva. Continues the Gemara and asks, Yatmi, Yesoimim that are under Bar Mitzvah. We're talking about Yesoimim who are under Mar Mitzvah, which means they're Ktanim. Yeah, I'm asking you a question. Can Yosem sell you something halachically? Me'ikardin, not midorabbanon. No. Me'ikardin midoraysa, cotton cannot sell or buy. Maker ikardin. Why? He's too young. His actions are not halachic actions. He cannot marry a woman. He cannot midoraisa. Don't tell. There are many ifs and buts. Generally speaking, a yosem can't have any halachic, transactions or actions that he can take. Yasmi delav bnei mechilaninu. A cotton cannot forgive what's his. It's an interesting yesod. A cotton who's underage cannot actually be mochel. Let's say I take Yitzchak's, I know Yitzchak is a very, very nice guy. Yitzchak has the spoon. I take the spoon. Yitzchak doesn't say anything. Yitzchak, being such a nice guy, doesn't mind. I take his spoon and he's mochel. He's nodding with his head. But a cotton below bar mitzvah does not have mechila. It's machlokes rishonim. Either mechila is like hefker, yeah, mechila / shiur / hefker are all in the same boat. A cotton cannot be mafkir. Why? Hefker is like a maisa kinyan. Yeah, mechira, hefker. You cannot do that. So too, a cotton cannot do mechila or yush. Even though yush is a feeling, but that feeling has monetary ramifications, a cotton cannot have yush. Wow. So let's say cotton owns something. Yes, although he feels yush possibly, but the yush doesn't have a halachic ramification of ki'ilu he gave it to the world. We don't view it that way because the cotton has no right, no option. to transact with the world. So now the question is, Yasmi delabne mechilaninu mai, which means, let's say I go near a field, let's say I go near a whole line of orchards, a few orchards, one next to the other. One of them belongs to Reuben, Levi, Shimon, and Yisraelim. Oh, one of them belongs to the Yisraelim. I pick the dates and I eat them. How come we eat from those dates who fell from the field of the Yisraelim? Those Yisraelim are not Bnei Mechila. Now, some Rishonim say, even if the Yisraelim are Miyash, their use does not apply halachically. To own it, they can own. How come they own it? The father died. That's why we say that they're Yisraelim. To inherit, everybody can inherit. It's automatic. Once your father died, could be the biggest, excuse the language, idiot in the world, could be 1 day old baby, can be Chiloni Gamu, anybody inherits, it's an automatic thing. But once it's in their hands, it's like in an iron curtain. Why? Because they cannot give or be moichel, be miyash. Even if they feel used, so how can you take the dates off the floor next to that field where some are Yisraelim? Yush doesn't apply to them, so will always stay theirs. Even with the shkotzim or with bugs all over. Mazim Meshaneh. Omar Lei, so he told him one answer. Baga be'ara, well, sorry. Omar Lei, baga be'ara deyasmi loy machzekinan, which means the baga means it's like an area of fields. Baga is like a plain with many fields. The Yisomim are the minority. We don't machzik, we don't assume that the date that came to my hands came from the field of the Yisomim. It came from the field of Reuben, Shimon, and Levi. We follow the roiv, the majority. Sometimes we even follow the majority when it comes to money. And most probably that beautiful date didn't come from Yisraelim. It came from Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, who are big people. Frag the Gemara insisting, muchzak ve'oimed mai. What would be if I know it's from the Yisraelim? Let's say I go next to a field with the Yisraelim. This is Yisraelim land. Only the Yisraelim. It's owned the Yisraelim exclusively, nobody else. And for sure, the date fell from the Yisraelim's land. And they don't have, by the way, some Rishonim say the Yisraelim's Mechila would work, yeah, because Mechila is not, their Yush would work, because Yush is not really an action, Yush is the feeling. But usually they're not Miyash. Interesting. Tanim are less Miyash. Maybe they're not tainted with life. They're more hopeful to get it. They're more Akshonim. Yeah, kids are more possessive also. Kids are more possessive. Oh, we also possessive, but we hide it nicer. They're less inhibited. In any event, let's say it's owned by the Yisraelim, or krachtamai. Now we go back to the previous case. You told me, I can eat the dates that fell next to someone's field because it's going to fall. It fell into a place where there's all kinds of disgusting bugs. Is meyash. Krachtamai. What would be if the guy is a nice, hygienic, out of Switzerland kind of field with kricha, meaning walled, like krach of Megillah, of Purim. Let's say he made a nice wall, pesticides, all clean, no bugs. He's not meyash. He knows that it's going to fall. He's going to pick it up. So how come we can eat it? And we believe Yush Shalom Midas, lo aviyush. Once I know it's meyash, I don't know yet. Hands off. And so the Gemara Amar le Asiran. Good boy, Asiran. En chinami. If I know that the dates belong to Yisraelim, I'm not allowed to take them because Yisraelim either don't or doesn't help if there are miyash. Or in the other case, when I know that the dates fell from a guy who's very spitzy and very clean and hygienic, there are no bugs, and he's particular about his dates, even if later on he will be miyash for whichever reason, as long as he was not yet surely miyash, we follow Abayey and we're not allowed to take it. A good place to stop, middle of the page. I'm very tempted to tell you the Tosfos. I'm Blineder tomorrow, start with the Tosfos, and then we'll go on to the 2 dots. Thank you very much. It's Locha Rabban. We'll be Zoichim Thursday, the last Thursday of the year. Ooh, tomorrow is the last year of the year. Our behavior tomorrow will reflect the Nol Yer Lemafreya. Yushalam Midas, whatever we are tomorrow, shows the Nol Yer. No, I'm afraid not.